everyone and welcome back to Be Here Now. Now today I'm going to be checking out the upper River Mersey, so like the Manchester section of the River Mersey if you like. I'm starting off here in Stockport and I'm having to shout my head off because I'm right next to the motorway and I'm under the flight path from Manchester Airport. But I'm going to be cycling down the River Mersey as far as I can, which should be the Manchester Ship Canal over near Irlam, and I'm going to be finding out what I can see, what I can find and what we can learn about it. Now of course the River Mersey is one of England's most famous rivers. Now my mission today is to try and see how close I can stay to the water's edge as I travel down the uppermost part of it. So like I say, I'm starting off in Stockport because behind me is where the River Mersey is born. Now it's born out of two rivers, the River Goyt and the River Tame. Now the Goyt rises miles and miles away in the Peak District, somewhere between Buxton and Macclesfield, at a place called the Cat and Fiddle Inn, roughly. The River Tame rises up in Saddleworth in the hills up there. And the meeting point here is where the River Mersey starts. So there it is, the start of the River Mersey, that point down there, the confluence of the Goyt and the Tame. Now I'm not sure why somebody decided that the Mersey should start there and the Goyt or equally the Tame couldn't just be the Mersey, but that's history I suppose. Anyway, that is it, that is the famous River Mersey right down there. So the river immediately disappears before the Mersey shopping centre in Stockport town centre and pops out here, well just before the viaduct over there. Now that viaduct is perhaps my favourite thing in Stockport. No offence to Stockport, but I've got a soft spot for industrial architecture and that is amazing. If you've ever been across that on a train, it's very high up, it's very impressive. It's actually one of the longest brick structures in the UK. It was built in 1840 and it consumed I think 11 million red bricks. So Stockport goes back a very, very long way. It could have been an Anglo-Saxon settlement, it could have been settlement long before that. The Romans possibly used a ford to cross the river here, but it's certainly a town that is built up around its proximity to the River Mersey. So we're going to leave Stockport behind now and we're going to crack on that way. I've got a fair few miles before we get to the Manchester Ship Canal in Irlam, and we're going to check out this national cycle route, in fact along the banks of the river, see how good that is. Okay guys, so check this out, some state-of-the-art graphics for you right here. How cool is that? Hollywood, eat your heart out. So I'm starting at this point here, next to the motorway, and I'm going to be cycling through Stockport town centre while the river disappears under the shopping centre there. I'm going to pop out and go under the viaduct, past the famous pyramid there, and then to our first stopping point. So I've left the town centre of Stockport and the natural features of the river are starting to become a bit more obvious now. I look over there in those sandstone cliffs, check that out, how amazing is that? Those are the Brinksway Caves. And they were carved out in about 1670, although nobody really knows why. In the Second World War they were expanded and used as air raid shelters for the local people, and of course since then they've been sealed up and closed off. I'd love to go over there and check them out and have a look inside, but I'm obviously on the wrong side of the river and I'm not going to abseil down there even on a sunny day. So at this point here there used to be loads of railway lines and railway viaducts and stuff like that. There's just the remains of one just over there and I think that's amazing, look at that, cool. Just this other side over here, there's another one just peeking out through the trees over there, that would have crossed going the other way. Yeah, nice. So I'm just entering Didsbury now, and this is the Fletcher Floodgate. So the River Mersey floods quite often, or it used to at least, and what happens here is they'll open this gate when the river level gets too high, and it allows all the water to flood into Fletcher Moss playing fields and the golf courses in this area. Now as I cycle on through Didsbury and Chorlton and Sale, you'll notice a few things. The first is that the traffic is still really loud. That's because I'm not far from the ring road, the motorway, so I'm still pretty much shouting. The second thing is, the river, you'll notice, is all kind of looks like this. It's got this general look about it, and that's because it's been banked on both sides. It's a very artificial banking on both sides of the river now. And they've done that to prevent flooding, or at least to alleviate flooding a little bit. So where I stood now in Northenden, the river split a little bit and created a bit of an island. Where I'm stood now, that doesn't exist anymore. The weir you can see down there, the little waterfall, that's one of the biggest weirs on the Mersey, and that was built to raise the level of the river upstream, obviously, and therefore help power a corn mill which was on this site in the area at the time. There would have been a corn mill here, they reckon, as early as the 13th century, and that's pretty early when you think about it. And then it was built, rebuilt and replaced all the way up to the 18th, 19th, and then the 20th century was knocked down. Right, I've just reached Jackson's Boat, which is a pub and a bridge on the border of Sale and Chorlton. It's a lovely little bridge actually. They keep talking about tearing it down because nobody repairs things these days. But yeah, though it stopped raining. I've just been under, that's the Metrolink Bridge, that's the Metrolink line to the airport. I've just been under there about 40 minutes, drying off because it's been chucking it down. I'm not quite halfway on my journey yet. I've got a fair way to go. The hours are ticking by, so I'm going to crack on. Right, so I'm doing this in early January, so the weather's cold and obviously it's been wet, but there's loads of dog walkers and cyclists and people just jogging and going for walks around here, and because it's beautiful, this river is just beautiful. And if you look over here at Chorlton Ease, you can see how amazing it is. I mean, this is January, imagine what it's like in summer. You can see why people flock here from like the suburbs and stuff. Interestingly, just around here there used to be a sewage plant, like there have been many along the River Mersey over the years. It used to run just over there. It's obviously not there anymore, but I'm going to pass such nice places further downstream, so that's something to look forward to. Right, I've reached the point where a different Metrolink line crosses the river, and that's the one to Altrincham. But beyond that, I don't know if you can see a brick bridge just under there. That is the Bridgewater Canal, and I've cycled along that before. I might be doing a video about that one day soon. I'm hopefully going to hop over both or hop under both, and then there's the motorway after that, and the path along the river gets a bit dodgy around there, so I'm going to see if I can just stick near the river as close as I can, and then after that it gets really interesting. Right, so there it is, that's the Bridgewater Canal, the aqueduct actually, over the River Mersey, the Bridgewater Canal. Just look at it, it's so simple and so beautiful even. The stonework, the red sandstone work there, mixed with brick. Look at that crack right in the middle there. That's a bit scary, that. It's sort of bowing a little bit. I don't know if that's just, maybe it's just my imagination. But yeah, the Bridgewater Canal is, depending on how you measure these things, it's one of the oldest man-made canals in the world. Technically the first from like the industrial era. Just to get your bearings, that way goes to the city centre and then bows back out and goes towards Wigan. And this way goes to Runcorn. The tram coming. Right, I'm going to get a bit technical with you now from my limited architectural knowledge. Obviously the canals came in the Industrial Revolution before the railways. And you can see the different architectural styles. This is mostly stone. It's very simplistic. It's got obviously brick tram around it. See the brickwork there, and but in the middle it's stone. Over here you've got brickwork again, but you've got like the introduction of steel here. Do you know what I mean? And it's a very different style. Obviously this has been revamped from a railway line into a tram line, so this has been remodelled and concreted and stuff, but it's interesting to compare. Right, so the idea of this was to stay as close to the river as I can, even if there's no footpath, and there is no footpath at the moment, so I've gone off the grid a little bit. I'm in a field. I've abandoned my bike. I'm just going to check out, see if I can actually get any closer to the water, and I don't think I can, to be honest. The motorway's over there though, that's the Motorway Junction. Can't remember what junction, I'll probably put that on the screen. Ding! Not that it's relevant. So the river goes under there, like, and then the path rejoins it on the other side of the junction. I thought I'd be clever and walk along the river as close as I can under the Motorway Junction, and then rejoin the path, the actual cycle path. I don't think I can. So unfortunately guys, there's just no way of staying by the water's edge here. I did have to go back on myself and go the normal way along the road to get back on the riverside in Sale. Right, so I made it to the other side of the road junction, the Motorway Junction. As you can see, I had to go back on myself. I had to go the normal way along the road, and I've just accessed the river back here because there's just no path there, there's just no access. I'm on the other side of the junction now. There's a TGI Fridays over there, in case you know that. There's not many of them around, is there? A bit of free advertising there. Don't send me a voucher. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I've just passed, as I was getting off the bike path back there, there's a couple of homeless guys. Well, there's a sleeping bag under the bridge on the other side, and it just wasn't moving, but like proper like lying flat, you know, on his back. And there's another one in a tent further down in the tree. And I was just watching him for a minute, just to make sure he's alright, and he just wasn't moving. I went, "Hey mate, you alright?" Just like that. Didn't move. So I went over to him, and you know what you're supposed to do, and patted him really hard on his shoulder and said, "Hey mate, can you hear me?" And he did eventually. He turned over and told me to go away. So I said, "Do you need any help?" And he went, "No, go away, leave me alone." I went, "Alright, fair enough." I didn't film him because that's a bit undignified. It's not a very nice thing to do. It's a bit middle class thing to do, film homeless people. But it's really sad. I mean, it's freezing. It's middle of the day now, and it's bloody freezing. And I'm just cycling about getting hot, so I don't know what he's feeling. It's just sad. It's just a sad thing in our society today, that. So I've come to a sewage works. I'm in Stretford, I think, Urmston, that kind of thing. Nice. Look, you see the birds over there? Birds riding the spinny thing and the dirty thing and the smelly thing. Birds riding it. Amazing. It's going round and round. Right, so I've reached Carrington Spur, which is a main road that comes off the motorway over there in the north to Carrington, obviously. But this is where the artificial look of the river just disappears completely. All this pretty banking, and it becomes much more natural if you can see past the weir down there, which just becomes more of a natural river with more wiggles and woggles. That is a technical term. Unfortunately, the nice track that I've been speeding down and getting mud in my face, that all disappears now, and it's a bit touch and go from here, because there's not really a riverside path to follow. So what I'm going to do, I did a bit of research before I left the house, believe it or not. I'm going to cross to the south side of the river, and because there seems to be a little bit more prospect of staying near to the river side on the south than on the north. There's a lot of private land downstream from here now, a lot of industry, a lot of houses. Alright, so just ignore what I just said. I'm actually on the north side of the river now. I did try an attempt to go on the south, but it was a farm, and it became plainly obvious that I couldn't go very far, and there was a farm looking at me, so I went back on myself, and now I'm on the north. So I'm next to the river at least. I don't know how long I can stay here for. I've come off the beaten track. I'm certainly off any sort of cycle path. Even a dog walking path, this is a bit ropey. So this is where the video stops being about me going for a bike ride and starts being about me scrabbling around in woods and mud, just trying to find my way to the end of the line. Hopefully we'll get there. So I know further down there's a bit of a private road where some kennels are, or some farms or something. So around Urmston Meadows, I think it's called, I'm going to have to go off the river and just see how far I can go. I might end up missing the whole river right till the end. Hopefully I can even get to the end. I don't even know if I can get to the end yet on foot. This will be a really crap ending to the video if I'm just stood on a road somewhere pointing at a map or something. Look at this beautiful natural bow in the river here. It's amazing, this voluptuous curve of the River Mersey. It's just exactly what the bit earlier on around Stockport and Chorlton and all that. So what I was missing, this natural beauty. Okay, so here's a bit of an update on the present situation. I did leave the riverside in the end. I couldn't get through the farms. I had to go through Urmston Meadows and then onto the main road to Flixton, through Flixton. And rather than film all that and bore you with just a main road, I didn't. So I'm in Flixton. I'm sort of in a field where there's a lot of dog walkers. The river is down there. It's become very misty, as you can probably tell. And over there is Carrington Power Station, the gas power station. I wanted to go down there and find the river, which is down there. It sort of bends around like that, comes back up, because there's some foundations of the old power station down there. But it's all fenced off. It's very misty. My bike is caked in mud. I'm tired, as usual, and I don't know what to do because the river's miles away now, and the end of the river, actually, well, the point at which the Mersey enters the Manchester Ship Canal is over there on a very narrow stretch of land between the railway line and the river. Well, that's where I wanted to stand, but I can't really access that unless I can go down this hill. But I can't go down this hill because it's too steep and there's a big fence at the bottom because I've got a bike. So cut long story short, I was trying to stash my bike somewhere and go on foot. I can't really do that. So I'm at the moment I'm a bit stuck. I'm going to see if I can find a workaround. So I started off in the middle of Flixton and came down this road here. I wanted to get back on the river desperately, but there was just a farm in the way, and there was just no way through that farm. I really wanted to follow this as it looped round, particularly to look at the remains over here of the old power station, and in particular these two bridges over the river there. Unfortunately, I couldn't do it. I was stuck in this field, so I had to head back along the path to the north of the railway line. Right, so I think I managed to crack it. I left that bit I was on. I went round the railway line, some north of the railway line at the moment. Well, I was. And I found this little path, and there's a fence blocking you off, but bless the little kids who mess around here. Look at that, the gate's open. So I've snuck in. Now I'm under the railway viaduct, obviously. Which is up there, amazing. So what I'm going to do is stash the bike. I'm just going to proceed on foot. Well, I can't believe it, I made it. I'm exactly where I wanted to be actually. This behind me is where the River Mersey enters the Manchester Ship Canal. Unfortunately, it's a super misty day and you can't see anything. Brilliant. Anyway, we made it, that's the best thing. Over there is Carrington Power Station. That is the viaduct. Oh, there's a train. That was exciting. Well, this is it, yeah, we made it. From here, obviously, the Mersey amalgamates with a Manchester Ship Canal for a while, like the Irlam does further upstream. However, the Mersey does its own thing halfway down, and then eventually breaks away from the Ship Canal and goes into the Mersey estuary and into the sea. So that's it for today. We've reached journey's end, we've reached the end of the bike ride slash scramble walk slash mudslide, and we've got where we wanted to be. So if you like the video, give us a like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. But for now, if you do want to do what I've just done, by the way, do it in two bits. Do the bike ride first and then go home, and then another day come out on foot and do the second half on foot, because it's really not for a bike. Which is a shame, because there's so much private land around the Mersey. It's one of England's greatest rivers and you can't access half of it. It's a very sad situation, but that's the modern world, and we accept it for some reason. So, excellent. Gonna go home and have a cup of tea now. Maybe a biscuit.